Have you ever looked down and felt like something's quietly slipping away? Not just energy, not just drive, but the very spark that once made you feel like a man, strong, vital, connected. You don't talk about it. Maybe you think it's just getting older. But deep down, you know something's not right. You still love your partner. You still want to feel that closeness. But your body? It just isn't responding the way it used to. And that silent frustration, that quiet loss of control, it eats away at your confidence more than any wrinkle or gray hair ever could. But what if I told you the problem isn't age? And what if I told you the Japanese have known the secret to keeping a man active, intimately, emotionally, and physically, well into their 70s, 80s, even 90s? I'm Dr. Edward. I practiced as a urologist and men's health specialist for over 35 years right here in Greenville, South Carolina. And today, I'm going to share with you one of the most effective natural approaches I've ever seen. A quiet method that's helped thousands of my patients restore blood flow, energy, and the kind of deep, masculine confidence they thought was gone forever. It doesn't involve pills. It's not about hormone shots. And you don't need a prescription to get started. So stay with me, because what I'm about to show you might just change how you feel in your body and in your bedroom for the next 20 years. Back and index pointing right, subscribe, and click the bell. It only gets more interesting from here. Back and index pointing right, and write in the comments which city you're watching from. I read every single one. Now, I know what most men over 55 have been told. That's just aging. But here's the truth. Age might open the door, but it's not the one turning the lock. Let me explain. Think of your blood vessels like the plumbing in your home. When you're young, everything flows smoothly. Clear pipes, strong pressure. But with time, tiny clogs start to build. Not big enough to stop things entirely, but just enough to slow down the flow. It starts subtly. A little less morning stiffness. A little more time to respond. Less sensitivity. Maybe a few off. Nights that you brush off with a joke. But it keeps happening. And deep down, you feel it. Like a car engine running dry. The parts are there, but the oil, the fuel, the fire, they're fading. And here's the worst part. The pills they push you, they're just jumper cables. They force the response, but they don't fix the engine. That's why so many men say, it worked for a while, then it didn't. Because the real issue isn't performance. It's circulation. It's nerve sensitivity. It's blood flow to the most delicate, essential area of your body. And if those little blood vessels are clogged, no amount of willpower or blue pills will change the outcome. But there's hope. Because the Japanese, and now more of my patients, are tapping into a simple, natural method that restores that flow gently, safely, and surprisingly fast. And that brings me to something remarkable. There was a man named Hiroshi, a retired fisherman from the coast of Osaka. He was 74, still walked the docks every morning, still held hands with his wife, still lived in a small, humble home just a few blocks from the sea. I met him during a medical exchange in my 50s, and what struck me wasn't his energy, it was the glow in his eyes when he spoke about his wife. He still had a strong connection, emotionally and physically. And when I asked him his secret, he smiled and said, Shindo Shio, inner circulation, outer stillness. At first, I didn't understand, but then I watched him prepare morning tea. It wasn't green tea. It was something else, a blend of 4 herbs, steeped in water, consumed slowly before breakfast. One of those herbs? Panax ginseng. Now I'd heard of it. Most doctors have. But the way Hiroshi used it was different. It wasn't just a supplement. It was a ritual, a sacred act to open blood vessels, warm the body, and prepare the day. Back in the States, I began testing it with my patients. Carefully, consistently, especially men in their late 60s and 70s who felt flat. No energy, no response, no desire. And the results? Stunning. Just 600 milligrams of Korean red ginseng in the morning, taken regularly, not occasionally, and something incredible began to happen. Stronger morning erections, quicker arousal, better clarity of thought, warmer hands and feet, and more than that, men told me they felt present again. Not just like a husband, not just like a partner, like a man. One of them, Walter, 68, told me, "Doc, it's like I got my old self back. Not just in the bedroom, in life." But that was just the beginning. Because the second part of this Japanese secret, it's the reason why Hiroshi, even at 74, said he never once needed medication. And when I brought that technique home to Greenville, well, let's just say the results were so powerful, some men thought it had to be a placebo. But it wasn't. It was real. And I'll share that in the next section. The first time I taught this next step, I honestly wasn't sure if men would go for it. We're not exactly known for sitting still, let alone massaging ourselves, especially not around the groin. But remember, this wasn't about pleasure. It was about restoring the connection. Most men, especially over 60, don't realize how much sensation they've lost over the years. The nerve endings in the inner thighs, the lower abdomen, even around the base of the penis, they start to go dull. Not because something's wrong, because of inactivity, because we stop touching, because we stop stimulating blood flow in those areas. And so, the nerves do what used nerves do. They retreat. But here's what's fascinating. With gentle daily stimulation, those nerves can begin to wake up again. This isn't fantasy. It's backed by real physiology. There's a principle called neuroplasticity, the idea that the nervous system can rewire itself in response to repeated signals. And when I showed men how to spend 3 to 5 minutes each morning doing slow, intentional touch from the lower belly to the thighs to the perineum, I started hearing things I hadn't heard in years. "Doc, I feel more sensitive again. Doc, it's like my skin remembers. I actually look forward to it. It calms me down." We weren't triggering arousal. We were rebuilding connection. This is what Hiroshi meant. He wasn't treating his penis like a machine. He was treating it like part of his whole body, honoring it, not demanding from it. And then came the tipping point. After 2 months of combining the ginseng ritual, the slow nature walks, and this daily touch routine, a man named Clarence, 73, former military, tough as nails, came into my office, sat down, and said, "Doc, last night I made love to my wife for the first time in 3 years. No pides, no panique. I didn't even have to try that hard. I just felt ready, like my body was finally with me again." He wasn't bragging. He was crying. Because in that moment, he realized something we all deserve to know. Your masculinity doesn't retire. It might go quiet. It might need a different kind of attention, but it doesn't vanish unless you abandon it. And Clarence? He didn't just reconnect with his wife. He reconnected with himself. But this story doesn't end here. Because while these techniques, walking, touch, were powerful, there was one more piece. The piece that Hiroshi used once a week without fail. And when I brought this piece back to Greenville, something extraordinary happened. Even men who had failed on medication, even men with mild nerve damage, started feeling things again. Not all at once, but like a slow sunrise, warmth, strength, sensitivity returning day by day. That's what I'll share next. And trust me, it's not what you think.